We have good participation.
Very nice to see everyone.
It is.
We all wanted to see what fire was all about because we need fire. It's so cold outside.
I love that title.
That's Miss Wilson with her attention-grabbing acronyms.
Yes, Deb's always got the good acronyms. All right, 12:02. I think we should get started. People can still come in and leave as you need to. So welcome and thank you everybody who joined us today. We have the staff from RAIN here, which is of course the Retention of American Indians into Nursing program. And it's right here at the College of Nursing. We've got this great program. So the staff's busy with their program and they want to share updates and information and also share ideas about potential collaborations within the college. Some housekeeping things are, please mute if you are not speaking so that we can give the presenter our full attention. Also, if you're having trouble with internet connections, turn off your video. That seems to alleviate some of those problems with internet if your video is turned off. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to Ray now.
Katie, do you want to start the slideshow? Okay, today the University of North Dakota rests on the ancestral lands of the Pembina and Red Lake bands of Ojibwe and the Dakota Oyate, presently existing as composite parts of the Red Lake, Turtle Mountain, White Earth bands, and the Dakota tribes of Minnesota and North Dakota. We acknowledge the people who resided here for generations and recognize that the spirit of the Ojibwe and the Oyate people permeate this land. As a university community, we will continue to build upon our relations with the First Nations of the state of North Dakota, the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara Nation, the Sistan-Wahpeton-Oyate Nation, the Spirit Lake Nation, the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe, and the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians. And this is just a little information on where those tribal nations are located. Fort Berthold is our Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara out in the western part of the state. The Sistan-Wahpeton-Oyate is a little bit down there by Sistan. The Spirit Lake Nation is over by Devil's Lake, and that's Dakota. The Standing Rock is south of Bismarck, and that's the Lakota and Dakota. And the Great Turtle Mountain Chippewa, of which I'm a part, is in north central North Dakota. It's a little small area of land of 6 by 12 with about 30,000 people. Okay. I'm Barb Anderson, and I wanted to welcome everyone to our fire meeting, which is faculty involved in RAIN efforts. And that's just one of the lovely acronyms that our fearless leader, Ms. Deb Wilson, likes to throw around at us. She likes butterflies and acronyms. Deb, do you want to just say a few words?
All right. I want to thank you all for being here. It's been quite a few years since we did have a fire meeting. Life got kind of crazy in the process, and I was just looking. I have served with 6 university presidents, been here a long time, and I have served with 9 College of Nursing deans and interim deans. So there's been a lot of people in my life that I've dealt with. I've gotten together a great crew of people who really enjoy what they do, and their focus is on students. And we just want to share with you some backgrounds, since we do know that there are so many new faculty that are here, and just to give you some background on us, and then to really showcase what our nurse mentors are doing with students. So welcome, and sit back, relax, and enjoy the slideshow.
I wanted to first go over our RAIN logo. If you'll notice the butterfly. Deb likes acronyms and butterflies. And we like to think of our office area as just a little cocoon where we bring students in, we help nurture them and help them get through the program here. And when they complete, they're like butterflies going out to make a difference in the world. The little raindrop under the A is for RAIN, Recruitment, Retention of American Indians into Nursing. And as one of our graduates once said, it's also the blood, sweat, and tears that it takes to get through the nursing program. And the feathers are just for honor to our tribal nations and communities from which many of our students come. Our staff, next slide. Deb's the director. I'm the coordinator for the program. Colleen is our writing mentor. Kara is our prospective student advisor. Our two full-time nurse mentors are Katie Monette and Elle Hazelton. And our part-time are Nancy Joyner and Tyra Nicole Dakota, and Loanne Hirsch is our administrative assistant. So in the beginning, sounds like a Bible story, in the beginning. Anyhow, RAIN started way back in the 1990s, and it was started with a proposal that was written by Dr. Levon Russell Hootman, God rest her soul. And it was the funding for the RAIN project started with Indian Health Service, which is the primary healthcare provider on reservations. And Indian Health Service had an individual by the name of Audrey Cordovalesi, who was the branch chief for the nursing department. And she came up with the idea and found funding to secure projects to get more American Indians into nursing. And I believe there were 6 at the beginning, right, Deb? And 4. And anyhow, of those initial ones, ours was one of the first. And then in the fall of 1992, we actually became a line item in the congressional budget. We are primarily federally funded. And we were named the Quentin and Burdick Indian Health Programs at the University of North Dakota, which includes RAIN and InMed, which is the Indians into Medicine program, and Inside, which is the Indians into Psychology Doctoral Education program. With this funding and with that designation, it's very unique. I don't know that there's any other university that has a congressionally funded program. So that's kind of special. And the reason for that is primarily to provide health services and train individuals who have providers who are from similar cultural backgrounds, knowledgeable of socioeconomic realities of reservation living, committed to improvement and making a better life for our people and our communities. And that's the reason for the Quentin and Burdick Indian Health Programs. And it was also, just as information, the legislation was introduced by Senator Daniel Inouye as a method to honor Quentin and Burdick. And Quentin and Burdick was a strong supporter of our American Indian communities in North Dakota. I remember him riding in the parade at Turtle Mountain every year during Turtle Mountain Days. So this is a really cool picture. When RAIN started here at the College of Nursing, we had just this very little space, and it was, I think, less than half of what we are now. You see Amy's there. She was one of our people working with our program. And Deb always says people had to get up and leave the room before other students could come in. So that's kind of a cool picture. And as we go through the slideshow, you'll see we got a nice bigger area now for students. So, but this is where we started, in the closet. Storage area. Talked a little bit about our funding. We're funded through HRSA, which is Health Resources Services Administration, the Indian Health Service, and we also have funding from MHA, which is Mandan Hidatsa Arikara Nation. And with that funding, we have 4 mentors. One on campus is Ardith. She's located over at the Columbia Hall. Corey is over in Newtown. Faye is our representative for the MHA Pathways program. Educational Pathways is the official title of that. And Delana is at United Tribes Technical College. Those areas, United Tribes has a large percentage of MHA members. And what those individuals do is provide mentoring to students from MHA who are going on to higher education, not just in North Dakota, but we work with students across the country. In addition to those 2 federal grants and the MHA, we have funding from several foundations, I guess, and organizations. We have funding from the National Society Dames of the Court of Honor. We have funding from National Society Daughters of the American Colonists. We have an endowment from the Ruth Ralph Foundation. We have a Skelly Foundation grant, our funding from Skelly Foundation, it's a private organization. And then we have a Max Bartlett Scholarship. And I think like the James and the daughters, they found us on the website, right, Deb? They were looking at
On Facebook.
on Facebook. They wanted to donate money to us, and with those funds, our non-federal funds, we provide scholarships, and we also do like emergency childcare or emergency funds if someone's vehicle breaks down. Our elements of success. Don't you love the butterfly? Elements of success. I said Deb liked acronyms. So we have RAIN, fire. Our earth is educational advocates recruiting to healthcare. And air is our alumni involved in recruitment and retention. And we also had wind at one time. So we had earth, wind, and fire right here at the College of Nursing, which is a band for those of you young people who don't know who earth, wind, and fire is. Next, we like to celebrate. When we have our graduates finish the program, we do a traditional meal and honor ceremony, and we're the ones doing the cooking. We present Pendleton blankets to our graduates, and they get to pick those out. And we use some of the alumni funding to help support that effort. And then we do an honor song, which is provided by a local drum group. Typically, we've had individuals from Spirit Lake the last few years. We haven't been able to have this, which has just been a shame, but hopefully we'll have a great big celebration when we're all immunized and COVID is under control. We want to do the video now. Is it going to work for us?
It should.
Those were a few of the daughters of the American colonists, I think, that visited us one year. So this is always a fun event for those of you who are new and haven't been to it. We highly encourage you to come and join us. Ooh, that's making me dizzy. Okay, it worked. And we also always have just a poster. These are some of our graduates from spring of 2020. We had 5 graduates in December. We don't have pictures of those yet. Okay. Al, do you want to take over here?
Sounds good. Thank you all for joining us today. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I was having mic troubles at the beginning, so good deal. Okay, so it's a proven fact that we need more diversity in our nursing profession. So diversity is multifaceted. So absolutely it means underrepresented ethnic minorities, but other underrepresented populations in our nursing profession include students or nurses from low income, veterans and rural students as well. And there's quite a few other underrepresented populations. But what our evidence-based practice shows us is that when we increase diversity, not just in our nursing student population, because that kind of pipelines them into the nursing profession, but it really enhances not just cultural knowledge, but knowledge from different areas for students, for nurses, for patients. And nurses who understand their patients' culture, where they come from, their religious views can provide them ultimate care. So really that includes, good communication, creating that trust relationship, which we all know, like as we create trustful relationships with our patients, we have better communication. We may be able to help them understand their disease process, their treatment plan. And really the evidence shows that when patients have that trusting relationship, that they're more willing to follow their plan of care and they feel more satisfied with their care as well. Next slide. So as nurses, we often talk about caring for our patients in a holistic way. And the RAIN program has created our RAIN mentor model, which really looks at supporting and growing our students in a holistic way. Kind of like Barb talked about how we're the cocoon, the students are the caterpillar, and we holistically help them become that butterfly and they fly away and become leaders in our communities. And so you can see on the left side here, all students, I would say, or many students, our education pathway isn't just straight from point A to point B. There's many different things that affect success, or maybe the length of the program that they go through. But advising, mental health, different academic support and planning, even just basic needs like maybe, you know, a roof over their head, food, all those things affect student success. So if we go to the next slide, this is our RAIN mentor model. And so you can see that it's really a circular model, meaning that, you know, there's no end or start per se. So really in the top right, we start at pre-entry. So when we're recruiting students, when we're talking to students from tribal colleges and high schools, or students that are interested in becoming a nurse, we begin working with them then. And then the retention piece is kind of where the nurse mentors come in. We also do some recruitment and things like that as well. But in a few slides, I'll talk about our mentor model and the different success supports that we provide to help our students' retention, including NCLEX preparation. Here are the fire faculty meetings are in here as well. There's also the financial support aspect. So scholarships and stipends, we all know that school is expensive. And then going into the empowerment. So not only going through NCLEX, but graduation, job placement. And throughout the whole process, we have role modeling and that empowerment piece as well. And so once students graduate the undergraduate program, we often see that they come back for graduate school. So really, again, that's that circle because they're coming in pre-entry again to come into grad school. So next slide. So nurse mentor roles and responsibilities. So first, before any students work, so RAIN just as the umbrella term, you know, including STAR support services and all of our American Indian students, everyone who comes into the RAIN program signs a enrollment and agreement forms so that we're able to have, you know, academic advising, mentoring, tutoring, talk about grades, all of those things. So like Barb said, we have 2 full-time and 2 part-time nurse mentors. And our role really is to create a welcoming environment and a home away from home. You know, our students come to the Grand Forks community. They might not be from here, especially our American Indian students come from rural areas. And they really come from a place where there is a strong sense of community. And so at RAIN, one of our main goals is to create that strong sense of community. So not just from our staff, but we also facilitate a student support network. So in that bottom left-hand picture, you can see that we have, you know, students in between classes studying and just, you know, building that community between within themselves. We also develop rapport and maintain professional relationships with all the way from pre-nursing to graduate students. And again, that's part of that role modeling as well. And really, I see our main goal as empowering students to grow and become the best students and become the best leaders. And I see many faces here that have gone with us on our summer faculty travels to different tribal communities. And I think all of us can say that we've seen many RAIN and UND alumni in leadership positions and being leaders in their community. Next slide, please. So part of being a nurse mentor is we advocate for our students. We definitely don't do for them. Again, it's empowering them, helping them grow and to be the best, you know, future nurse that they can be. Different things that we do. So we collaborate with students to help them connect to their resources, identify their resources, to help them be successful, whether that's the financial aid office, the counseling center, the library, whatever it happens to be. And again, this is usually one-on-one because each student has different needs and already has different strengths. So we also look at academic readiness. So maybe a student needs help with developing a study plan. How do you prepare to be a first semester nursing student? What does that learning curve look like? You know, how are they doing in time management? Do they have a planner? Are they organizing their assignments and Blackboard courses in a certain way? Also test taking strategies. So we all know NCLEX style questions are important to expose and help our students learn how to answer correctly to pass their NCLEX. And so test taking strategies is a really important aspect that we work with students as well. Also identifying potential and actual barriers. At our very first meeting of the semester with each individual student, we talk about, you know, how are you feeling about the upcoming semester? What are you worried about? What are you excited about? Because then we can really identify those potential barriers. So maybe they're worried about a patho-phys course. Okay, well, let's develop a study plan. What are we going to do about it? And here's some study resources. Our nurse mentors have academic and clinical skill tutoring. So whether that, maybe they want extra help priming IV bags or something like that, we'll go down to the CRSC, or tutoring talking about pathophys or how the heart works, lab values, those kinds of things. Not only do we connect them to campus resources, but also community resources, because again, our students might have family or they're coming from a different community and they don't know quite what the Grand Forks community looks like. So, do they need connection to housing? Where are the grocery stores at? All of those kinds of things. And then we have NCLEX and career preparation. So as our students progress through the 4 semesters, we start getting them ready for NCLEX, what to expect, and then for our seniors, really looking at what's your study plan? Have you registered for the boards? Which state are you registering through? And really, again, individualizing that study plan for them. And then we also serve as a liaison between faculty and students. So again, I just see our role as empowering students to have conversations with their faculty, which I'll talk about progress reports, I think, in one of the next slides. But again, too, it's some of that role modeling as well. So how do you professionally contact your instructor? How do you professionally have a conversation that I don't understand this, or I, have a concern, and helping that student learn how to professionally communicate with their faculty as well and build those relationships that they feel like they can reach out to their faculty. Next slide. So Katie and I are both full-time, and we primarily work with American Indian, again, pre-nursing to graduate students. So we formally meet twice a semester with the traditional undergrad students. So once at the very beginning, just to check in, say hi, again, identify those barriers, those successes, connect them to resources, all of those kinds of things. And then at that time, they get their progress reports, which I saw Melissa in here. So Melissa's been helping us make those DocuSigns. So thank you, Melissa, for that. I'm hoping to send out our picture roster and information about the DocuSign progress reports later this week. But the progress reports basically facilitate that communication between the student and faculty. So they meet with the faculty twice, once at the beginning of the semester, just to check in and say, hi, my name's Elle. I'm a marine nursing student, just coming up to say hello. And then the second meeting is a more in-depth meeting, and it's right before midterms. And there's a list of, maybe like time management, handing in assignments on time. There's a list of different things that the faculty and student are to discuss and talk about, this is where you're succeeding. This is maybe where you could strengthen your academics a little bit. And then after they meet with their faculty, then they meet with Katie or I, and then we talk about those progress reports. So it's kind of like Starfish in a way that it's an early alert system, but again, it's really building those relationships and encouraging those relationships between students and faculty as well. We also discuss current classes and upcoming classes. So what to expect. I always encourage students to read, use their planner, stay on top of it from the beginning, those kinds of things. And we talked about identifying barriers. And then also learning styles is something that we really work on strongly as well. So, are you hands-on learner? Are you an auditory learner? And then what are some ways, depending on what kind of learner you are, what are some ways that might help you, learn the most efficiently, use your time the most efficiently, or what are some resources too if you're an auditory learner? Maybe your ebook, will read the text to you. And then also celebrate successes. So we always go to pinning, the Lamp of Knowledge ceremonies, graduation, and then we talked about our Rain Traditional Meal and Honoring ceremony. And then I will turn it over to Nancy. So Nancy and Nicole have slightly different roles, so she'll talk about those here.
So I talked about our funding sources. Our HRSA grant, the first one was awarded in 2004, and that was the WIN project. And then in 2017, we submitted a proposal again to HRSA, and with that, we created STAR, which is Students Thriving in the Academic Realm. And the big change with this funding source was that it included working with other underrepresented minorities and also students who are considered economically or educationally disadvantaged based on our HRSA guidelines. And one of the main reasons we had this support was to help and assist with that scholarships for disadvantaged students, which the College of Nursing had. That grant allowed funding just for scholarships for students, but one of the requirements was also to provide some support to those students who might need additional support. So that's when this started, and this grant started in 2017. We'll be at the end of that in July June, end of June, I think is this will be done. And we have submitted another proposal for additional funding for the HRSA project, part of our program. We do submit proposals almost every year. Even though we are congressional line item in IHS, we still have to present a proposal every year in progress reports. Nancy?
As Barb was just explaining, we did start with the SDS component of it. And we worked, as she said, these are the guidelines we have. We use the population of less than 50,000 for rural, so one of these, and then the disadvantages she spoke about, all from HRSA guidelines. So we have the students complete an application, then we review to see if that qualification, if they do meet these criteria. We changed quite a bit from last spring to where we are now with this. And so after doing that, we both Nicole and I are part-time, and we do things similar to what you've seen with the RAIN mentor model. We have similar forms that we use. We don't have the progress reports that are set up or have the frequency of meetings that are there, but we do make sure that we are meeting the student needs. We're seeing what their schedule is going to be, what areas that they need some assistance with. Sometimes it is a combination of both the mentoring and the tutoring model that we see. Next slide, please. I also was, Kalina's on today, and she is our writing mentor. She is a PhD and not a nurse, but is fabulous in helping students to improve their writing, assisting with the paper structure, organization, grammar, definitely APA, which so many of us, especially as nurses, we don't write as well as we do. So sentence structure, and then she does refer and work with us when it comes to any of the nursing content component of it that is there. So next slide, back to you.
All right, so we have 1 to 3 student tutors every semester, just depending on our student needs. But always one student tutor is a nursing student. We prefer 3rd to 4th semester, but sometimes it's 2nd to 4th, just depending on. And then the other 2 tutors might be math or science related, depending on, again, our pre-nursing needs and our nursing student needs. For graduate tutors, it's mostly like me and Katie and Nancy. Nicole would be like the tutors, these are more like undergraduate student tutors. So student tutors don't mentor, but they are expected to be a role model. So again, be professional. And just like, the nurse mentors, where we create a safe, non-judgmental, friendly learning environment. But their role is really just helping them identify the information, key definitions, but they also might help in understanding maybe faculty teaching styles, like maybe they use PowerPoints, or maybe they have recorded lectures or use interactive modules or something like that, or help them understand course expectations, again, like, oh yeah, you need to make sure you read for this class ahead of time because you have interactive activities or things like that. Next slide. So this is a picture of the beginning of the semester orientation for this semester. And again, such a big part of our RAIN program, even call it a RAIN family, is our community. And so if you go to the next slide, for many of us, the pandemic has changed not only the way that we live and work, but the way that our students learn, the way that we teach, and it has definitely affected the way that RAIN works as well. So our office area, which includes like the computer lab, the kitchenette, and the quiet room, all are still open to students. We have COVID precautions in place. And then we also have staff available online and in person. And again, if we're in person, we're wearing masks. And I think there was a picture on a couple slides back where we were more than 6 feet apart and wearing our masks, but still having a study session. But I would say that, at the very beginning of the pandemic, when students weren't quite comfortable with Zoom yet, we had maybe like a week or 2 that was pretty quiet. And then once, Zoom started to become normalized, all of us nurse mentors were using it. I would say now students absolutely study a lot via Zoom, and not so much in person anymore. All of our orientations have been online. We've helped with technology troubleshooting. We've also created care packages. So one week we had like a first aid care package that had like vitamin C in it and hand sanitizer, tea, different stuff like that. This week we're gathering some things for Valentine's Day, like candy and snacks and pencils and stuff like that. And we're going to put it together on Friday for students to come up and pick up when they have a chance over the week. And then for some of our students, like our fourth semester students that, especially last semester, they were already at home and they were staying home because they're either online or at practical. And so we mailed those packages to them, again, just to kind of keep that connection. And this is in addition to like, I mean, usually we, you know, like Deb and Barb have cell phones or they text students, email, phone calls, all of that stuff in addition to this. And then using Zoom for our in-person mentoring and study sessions as well. And just frequent check-ins too, because again, keeping that connection and keeping that community. And with that, I will turn it over to Barb.
Okay, so you can see our program has been successful. Our primary elements are the collaborative mentor model, culturally relevant academic advisement, developing an accepted and supportive environment. We do have scholarships available for students, and we do also assist with different, you know, helping them find financial support while they're in school. We do a collaboration with tribal colleges, and then again, our traditional graduation honor ceremony. Prior to COVID, Deb and I did a lot of recruiting. We go out to reservation areas in North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, Nebraska, Wyoming, and Minnesota. And that's one of our fun things that is a good part of our program that we really miss. We haven't been able to see people. But we found that just going out there and telling students, you know, you can do this, that like Deb and I always say, when we were growing up on the reservation, nobody really said to us, you can be a nurse or you can be a doctor. And there weren't that many at the Indian Health Service when I was going there for care. And as of December 20th, we've graduated 244 now BSNs. We have a lot at our hospital in Belford. I know that are graduates. We have 70 with masters. We have had 2 American Indian nurses here at the Doctor of Nursing get their DNP here at UND. We've also had 5 nurses have earned a PhD in nursing at other institutions. And one of our nurses actually got her Juris Doctorate, and she was a chief judge on her reservation, which was down in Pine Ridge, South Dakota. We visited with her last time we were out there. Okay, we also like to do what I call myth busters, but just to clean up some misconceptions or maybe myths people have. American Indians do not receive a check from the federal government every month just for being Indian. We do not receive free health care. They have Indian Health Service on reservations, but those off reservations, that health care is not provided. We do not receive free education. Most of our students, again, like I said, they have financial aid, they have loans, they have scholarships, hopefully. Most tribes now have casinos, but they're not big money-making things like people might imagine. All Indians are the same. Nope, there were 567 federally recognized tribes in this country. We do not live in teepees. Fry bread is not a traditional meal or not a traditional food. It was created from the use of commodities that were given out to individuals on reservations. Our reservations do not have gates, and yes, we do have to pay taxes. So with that, we're going to open it up to any questions. And again, thank you all for joining us. It's been fun that we enjoy doing our fire meetings.
Thank you so much. This was wonderful information. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for joining us, Dean.
Everyone, this is Gail. I again want to thank you for a very colorful and informative presentation. I would just want to kind of share with the entire group kind of the emphasis of three points that were addressed, but probably we could emphasize more. I consider myself just a helper bee. I assist RAIN with their grants and funding sources. I think it's really important for all of us as a college of nursing to remember one of the things that's probably changed since, for example, 2004, since you really began to get more funding from grants and HRSA, is data. RAIN does have an enormous amount of data, as does the college itself, and certainly Tracy and the chair people help, OSS help with that, but we really have more pressure, more responsibility to collect, monitor, analyze the data. Every progress report, every new grant really requires a good command of a description of ourselves by our data. And we've gotten better at that, but it is something that we continue to work on. And for the person that's the semester coordinator, or Darlene who's running this CRSC, they have data also, but unless you're kind of working with some of these grants in RAIN, you may not appreciate how much data they really have to oversee. I can see them shaking their heads. In the new grant proposal, Deb did put in the budget for a consultant to help with the data management. Again, if that's funded, that would be wonderful. But so far, we've done that ourselves. And just to emphasize, it is becoming a bigger and bigger responsibility. Deb and Barb, do you want to say anything about that?
Well, I think we found with, I said federal funding, their parameters that they've set up for these federal grants are just getting to be to the point where you do need a professional to try to keep track of what you're doing, because federal government, if you haven't written a federal grant, let me tell you, they want to know, first of all, they tell you exactly what you need to do with the money they're going to give you. And then they want you to make sure that you let them know how you spent the money and if it's meeting the parameters that they set for you. So I think it's gotten a lot more stringent in the last few years with the federal funding.
Yeah, exactly. So along with the data, the second point I was going to emphasize, and again, we've been very blessed in college and nursing to have a department like RAIN, the chair people, semester coordinators, faculty, OSS, the Holistic Admissions Committee. But regarding the parameters for requirements, any of these things we believe in. If you say in your heart, do you believe in increasing the diversity of students and having underrepresented racial groups and students who are first generation? Well, I think we all would feel that's part of our value system. But it no longer is only that's a good thing nice thing to do. This is, you have to meet these parameters or you won't be funded, or you won't be funded in the future. So this isn't germane only to nursing. We're seeing this in all the sciences and School of Medicine, etc. But the diversity of students, now the increased hiring and utilization of diverse faculty is a requirement. It's a requirement for the grants, and it's a requirement that's becoming stronger and stronger by our certification agencies, the CCNE. And again, I think we're making progress on that, but for our entire family, as Elle calls it, for the RAIN family, for our nursing family, it's good that we're really kind of helping each other out on that, because the rules of the game, so to speak, have tightened. Particularly, I'd say it's tightened a lot even in the last 5 to 7 years.
Yep, a lot.
Elle, what would you, and Kirsten, you've been involved with your holistic admissions. What would you say about that?
I agree with the fact that, they have certain expectations and regulations. And I do feel like a lot of it, even, applying for this new HRSA grant, has to do with increasing diversity in nursing. And the other important thing I think to note too, is that RAIN is basically half IHS and half HRSA funded as well. So
yeah, that creates a certain role and responsibility for us to all, again, to help each other out for the grant writing, for the parameters, for seeing how we can monitor the data. And again, you mentioned the third thing, Elle, but I would want to emphasize, besides the data and the parameters for the federal requirements and accreditation, the third thing is data, communicate. I've seen in my work with the department a much tighter communication collaboration, but we still have work to do so that the chair people and the semester coordinators know what's going on with the student. If there's a problem, an early alert, if they know what we need to do for faculty hiring. I mean, the chair, Stephanie and the dean and others were involved with the discussions on how can we work to hire more faculty. But it really takes a much bigger pool besides, in addition to rain, takes a much bigger pool of people to achieve what we're required to achieve for the federal funds, for the grants, for accreditation. And that's good because it makes us all work together closer, but it really is requiring people to reach out and pull in from OSS, etc.
Yeah, and that's what I've seen over the years. The biggest difference is that RAIN is basically a support program for American Indian students. That's what we've been for 30 years. Now, all of a sudden, in these last two HRSA cycles, we're expected to get the College of Nursing more involved in the holistic review. They want us now to increase diverse faculty. Well, we don't have anything to do with those. That isn't what we say. That's up to the College of Nursing and the faculty. So it's really different in that we really need to look to the College of Nursing to really be a big part of what we're doing.
And we do have a couple questions here. The first question was, what is the best method of referring students, RAIN students who are struggling? And the next question is, has the RAIN model been implemented in other places or institutions? Yes, I believe it has been. I know we have over in Bemidji, actually, one of our graduates has wrote a HRSA grant. What is their program called? It's a
long name.
Yeah, it's an Ojibwe word. It means, what does it mean again, Al?
We take care of each other or something.
Or taking care of our own or something. But yes, it has been duplicated at other institutions, but it's not as good as ours. And
but
then
RAIN is the original, right?
Right.
Yep.
We like to brag. Al, do you want to answer the question of the best method of referring students?
Sure, Katie. So I would say if you know they're American Indian, you can absolutely contact me or Katie and we can reach out to them. If they are, or if you don't know, or you know, you don't want to ask or anything like that, there is an application online. I can find it. Or Nancy, do you have it? Do you want to pull it up? Or I can pull it up here.
Would that be the STAR application?
Yes.
Okay, I do have that.
So, oh, you do? Okay, so I can just share this. So it's on cnpd.und.edu/RAIN. And then I believe it is, Nancy, tell me if I'm going wrong, STAR program, and then apply now. So again, to meet our federal regulations, again, we're half IHS funded. So that's where a lot of our American Indian focus comes from and our history with it. And then with HRSA, again, to meet our grant guidelines and again, all that data reporting, we do have to, again, support underrepresented students. And there's other, you know, like Nancy talked about, there's different groups of students that meet the application guidelines. And then once they apply, then it comes to Nancy, and then she'll reach out with either, you know, yes, you meet the guidelines, or no, here's resources, either way, and connect them that way.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just add a piece? Elle, when you guys, usually you send out something at the beginning of the semester with pictures with RAIN, which is really helpful. So in part of Katie's question, and I think that's such a good one, especially for new faculty, is if they are a RAIN student and you see at the beginning of the semester that they're struggling or attendance isn't there, that they should reach directly out to you. And I think part of her question was about student privacy and FERPA. So do you want to talk a little bit about what you guys do and how that is a collaborative effort?
So we absolutely have agreement forms, legal agreements saying that, you know, that we're allowed to talk to instructors, that even for our RAIN students, that we're allowed to talk to, you know, our tribal community colleges and talk with financial aid, especially with giving scholarships and those kinds of things.
Services.
So they sign an agreement. Oh, sorry, what was that?
Social services.
Social services. So every student that we work with has to sign that for us, you know, to start working with them. So that kind of covers the FERPA part of it. And Barb and Deb, before my time, they had a legal look at that agreement, and it was okayed. And then, sorry, what was your other question, Stephanie?
Oh, it was about the privacy, and that if they're a RAIN student they don't have to go through the application process because they're already working with you and Katie. I think that was on your slide. So
Yes.
if they are Rain, it would be okay for the instructor to call you and say, we're struggling a little bit.
Yes.
It would be good for the three of us to meet and discuss a plan.
Yes, all their paperwork is in order. And then for non-American Indian students that apply to that STAR program, they'll know Nancy. If they meet the guidelines, then Nancy reaches out to them. They sign those agreements together. So that paperwork is also in place. And then going back to the picture rosters, again, with the progress report information, I will mail out the picture rosters hopefully at the end of this week. So I'll mail that out to undergrad and graduate. Like I did
And
last
all of the students that work with our program, we do have them all do it as a program enrollment form, and there are documents they have to provide to us. One of the documents, if you're American Indian, is you have to have, we're the only minority that has to have the card carrying minorities that prove we're American Indian, but you tribal enrollment or a form that says you're a descendant of an American Indian tribe, they have to fill that form out. We do have a financial aid form that they complete. We have that student agreement form that all students sign before we provide any services to them. And again, we did have that all checked with legal department when those forms were created so that everyone is legally legal, all the legal.
and
ends
it's
is
our
taken
whole
care of.
RAIN program is voluntary. So whether you're American
right.
Indian or diverse of any sort, like it's a voluntary support program that they come in. So just because you're American Indian doesn't mean you have to be part of RAIN.
This is Gail again. And the other thing that I think it's important for us to all go away and reflect on is knowing who we are, what our mission is. And even though that's a statement of the obvious for North Dakota, the accreditation agencies as well as the, HRSA are pretty fair and liberal about how you define your underrepresentation. Although sometimes even I fall in this pothole that, we're looking at only at race, how many Native American Indians, Hispanics, Blacks, Asians, etc. So I have to be careful not to fall in that pothole that it's only race. But again, with all the, media attention with the social, justice issues, it is important that we do look at systemic racism, but also when we're looking at the grants and the accreditation, it is that DEI, the diversity, the equity, the inclusion. So it's important we continue to define and collect the data that, Kristen and Ella are that leads on that committee for holistic admission. If it's first generation college, rural area, yes, if they are from an underrepresented minority, but we define our diversity and inclusion for holistic admission differently than you might say, for example, where I'm in Texas, where 66% of the population can be Hispanic. I think that is just something we need to continue to talk about, that we make sure, again, we have our data, that we're collecting that data. And this was brought to my attention when we were writing this last HRSA grant in January. I was talking to another dean in West Virginia who was also writing a nursing workforce diversity grant. Of course, you always hope that your grant's better than theirs, but in West Virginia, their population is 95 to 96% Caucasian. They are not a very racially diverse state, yet they have huge issues with access of care, access to rural care, underserved, poverty, high rate of uninsured or underinsured. So it is important that we continue to work with RAIN and the OSS holistic admission to look at how we're defining, our underserved populations. I don't, Stephanie, do you have anything else you want to share on that, or Kristen with the holistic admission?
Hi, this is Kirsten. I just wanted to echo what you were saying, and then when students are filling out that STAR application, they might not be aware that they are underrepresented minority groups, just because we do look at perhaps where the student went to school for rural access, and then also if they maybe had their high school took part in reduced lunches. So maybe students would need assistance in filling out that form. So OSS is able to help a student kind of identify if they would meet the qualifications for STAR mentoring services. So I just wanted to make sure people are aware that maybe students are kind of falling into the category of just identifying racially or ethnicity wise, but we are looking at it diversity more of a holistic manner and including students from various backgrounds.
And I just want to say, if there's any other topics that you would like our program to present on in the future, please let us know. I don't know, whatever you might want to know about Indians and we're afraid to ask or something like that.
The other thing is, Stephanie, with you and the undergrad faculty, it's too early now, but maybe towards the end of semester, Amy Fiala would be interested in giving a brown bag with Rain about her work with the Diversity Institute.
Oh, Stephanie, Amy, who helped us develop the mentor model itself. I think she was key and instrumental in that diagram and putting our stuff into a format that wasn't all in Deb Wilson's head. Because she had 2 people on staff when she started. So when the rest of us joined her, it was like, well, this is how we do this. And she didn't tell us until she expected us to do it. So it's like, okay, Deb, well, tell us what you want us to do. It was kind of funny looking back on it, but that was a few years ago. But it's been a process that she's developed over the years. And like I said, when we go out into Indian country and we see all of our graduates out there, it's a feather in the cap of this university to have all those UND graduates out there. We've had directors of nursing tell us, please send us more graduates, because you can always tell a UND graduate, they're so well prepared, they're leaders, they're, you know, they just jump right in and do their job. We've had a lot of directors of nursing tell us that. So you all need to be proud of the work you do. We're proud of us. Thanks again for joining us, people.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful.
Nice to see you, Gail. Thanks for fitting us in, Sherry, for a brown bag.
This is great. Thank you so much.
You bet. See ya.